What's up, everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Welcome to the Rams versus Buccaneers bonus content edition. This is a Sunday, NFL Game Day Sunday, but not for us. We got Monday Night Football, so I thought I'd give you a little gift. Did an interview with Liam Mitchell of Bucs Archive, a Bucs fan, and we collaborated, and that's what this video is going to be about, but I just thought I'd give you a sweet intro. One update, because I've said it all in my previous video. We're going to talk about it in the video coming up, but Ali Marpet, they're almost all-pro or close to all-pro or maybe all-pro guard, looks like he's doubtful with a concussion for the game, and that is huge. They're going to have to shift their offensive line. A.Q. Shipley, Pearson moving back and forth, and that's Aaron Donald's real estate. So I feel that's something that really has moved in the Rams' favor. You never want to see anyone out, but we'll take it. So one other thing, just want to thank everyone for all the comments, for DMing me on Instagram, for all the new subscribers. A lot of people have come on board recently. Thank you very much for everyone who's been following for a while. I really do appreciate your support and love hearing from all of you. So keep it all going. And if you're watching this for the first time, please go ahead and subscribe. But without any further ado, just go ahead and enjoy this Sunday of NFL football without, totally stress-free, just fantasy football-wise, red zone it out. But without any further ado, please give a warm Rams Talk round of applause for Liam Mitchell and Bucs Archive. All right, everyone. Well, we have Trent here with Rams Talk and Liam here with Bucs Archive, diving into the Monday Night Football game. That's going to be an epic showdown. Liam, how's it going?
Great, Trent. It is great. I'm actually from LA. To all you Rams fans out there, I am from Ventura County, but I am so excited for this game. I'm on the Bucs side, and this is an old Monday night between the Bucs and Rams. It was a bit of a rivalry in the early 2000s, so this is something I'm really excited for, something I grew up with, watching these two teams square off on Monday night. So I cannot wait, man.
Yeah, these teams have a history. And just so Rams fans know, that Liam was born right after the Rams moved away from LA. So he grew up in an area that didn't have a team. So we can't blame him for not being a Rams fan. And I guess we did have a lot of big-time rivalries, a rivalry going back to the Greatest Show on Turf days, the Bert Emanuel situation, which I have a Bucs friend that he always reminds me of this. But I think what I'm really interested in is just kind of hearing more about the Bucs, because to be honest, this is kind of a different team from even a little bit from last year, but from the last 5 years. So when I look at your team and I think, this defense has really, really stepped up. First against the rush, you have Todd Bowles. What's going on with the Bucs D, especially against the run?
Yeah, it's much different than it was last year, especially in terms of the passing defense. For example, when these two teams squared off last year, 3 of the DBs that were getting the most playing time you won't see on the field on Monday. Vernon Hargreaves is now gone. MJ Stewart was cut. Mike Edwards is still with the Bucs, but he's a backup safety. So in the passing game, those are guys you won't see on the field on Monday. The rushing defense was number 1 in the NFL last year, and it's kind of continuing off of that. They've struggled a little bit more. Vita Vea went down, the nose guard, earlier in the year, which was a pretty big loss. But we traded for Steve McClendon. He stepped in pretty nicely. But this defense, it's fueled by pressure. Todd Bowles bringing those blitzes. Devin White and Levante David are arguably the best linebacking duo in the NFL. They're so unbelievably fast. It just makes it so hard to run on this team. But they've been shredded in the past this year. The Saints just did it a couple weeks ago. If you can keep the pressure off Jared Goff, they can. The Bucs have lapses in coverage here and there. Number 35, Jamel Dean, look at him to possibly have a lapse in coverage here or there. But I think overall this is going to be a really defensive game. I really do. The Rams have a very good defense. I think it's second in the NFL right now. So this is going to be a good game, man. Defensive for sure.
You mentioned Jamel Dean, and I remember watching the Green Bay game when Jamel Dean had that pick six, and I was like, wow, this Jamel. And then I heard his name again. I was like, man, this Jamel Dean guy, there's a third-round pick, but I've heard that he's more hot and cold. You know what I mean? Like, he'll have those moments, but then maybe disappeared. What's the deal with Jamel Dean and even your, is it Carlton Davis has 4
Yeah.
picks, and even your slot corner Bunting. I've heard that he's been kind of the shakiest guy out of the bunch.
Yeah, Carlton Davis, I think, if you're not a Bucs fan, he's one of the most underrated corners in the NFL. He's a big guy. He's great man-to-man. He's the Bucs' #1 corner, and I think he's a great corner. Jamel, on the other hand, like you said, he's hot and cold. He's really good. I think PFF has him ranked as one of the highest corners in the NFL over these past couple of years. They gave him high rankings for his rookie year as well. He can just be hot and cold. He's good in man-to-man, but at times I think he's given up touchdowns each of the last few weeks, and it's just kind of like, Jamel, where's your head at? He's just completely lost in coverage, completely blowing a coverage. So those are the kind of things with Jamel you just hope don't happen, is he just uses his head, isn't being over aggressive, and doesn't leave a guy wide open. He did it with Traquan Smith a couple weeks ago. He did it with one of the Panthers' backup tight ends last week. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And then Sean Murphy-Bunting is definitely, I would say, the third best of these guys. He's given up a couple big plays this year, but he's an athletic corner. He's good at making plays on the ball. Also a good corner. I mean, these young DBs have really stepped up big time for this defense and been a big reason as to why they're playing so much better. And then at the safety position, Antoine Winfield Jr., second-round pick out of Minnesota, he's been balling this year, other than maybe Chase Young in Washington, arguably the rookie of the year on defense. Been having a great year.
Wow, that's and you didn't even mention JPP or Shaq Barrett. So I mean, like this, you look around. You didn't even mention Ndamukong Suh. You look around. This team has names, and they're all playing very well. And Sean Murphy-Bunting, he's going to be matched up against Cooper Kupp. So I feel like that is an advantage for the Rams there. If you're going to attack the secondary, Jamel Dean maybe, but also going after Bunting with Kupp, because Kupp is just a great route runner. I think he can get the separation there. And then also, I think JPP will be playing on the side of where our replacement left tackle Joe Noteboom will be. As you know. Andrew Whitworth went down last week. I mean, he's like 39 years old, but he's arguably top 3 tackle in all of football, still performing at. He's kind of like a LeBron James in a way, where he was defying age. And Joe Noteboom was a player that the Rams drafted in 2018 because Andrew Whitworth was still like really old in 2018 with the thought of, stepping in at left tackle. He played tackle in college. But then, Whitworth was still around playing at a high level, so they moved him to guard. When Saffold left, they put him in at guard. He wasn't doing that well at guard. He's more of a natural tackle. I think he got injured in like the 6th game last year. He was out for the rest of the season. And then this year he started again at guard, left guard. He was doing okay. Then he got injured for like 3 or 4 games and lost his job because his replacement came in and was doing really well, David Edwards. And now that Whitworth is out, now it looks like he's going to be playing tackle, which is his natural position. And I feel like he will play better at tackle than he was playing at guard. However, it's not going to be easy when you get thrown into the fire against JPP, who leads the Bucs in sacks. So, I mean, I guess if I'm Todd Bowles and I'm looking at ways to attack, I'd probably put a little extra pressure on that side of the line for the Rams. The Rams offensive line has been pretty solid the whole year, but that's when you have like one of the better tackles in all of football at that end. So that's going to be, I think, obviously a key for the Bucs to look to try to exploit. While I don't think Noteboom is bad, I just, it's just the situation really that has me a little concerned. Has Rams fans concerned?
And vice versa, the Bucs' best offensive lineman, Ali Marpet, our left guard, he's been out with this concussion. It looks like, from what I heard last night, is he still might not be back on Monday.
Wow.
Which is big because, Aaron Donald is arguably the best player in the NFL. So we got AQ Shipley now at center, and we moved starting center Ryan Jensen to that left guard spot. So that's a big matchup right there. If these guys can step up and block Aaron Donald, it's massive. And then the other key I'm looking at from your guys' defensive standpoint, I watched a lot of that Seahawks-Rams game last week after the Bucs game finished. Darius Williams, I was really impressed with that guy, man. He can play. Jalen Ramsey, obviously one of the best corners in the league. Troy Hill. It's going to be interesting to see them match up with these receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. And you think Jalen's going to be on Mike Evans, I would assume?
Yeah, I think usually prior to the Seahawks game, Jalen kind of rotated around between different covering different receivers and even blitzing a lot, playing in the nickel. But the reason why I think they put him on DK was mainly because he's the tallest of the DBs. So I think same with Mike Evans, similar height with DK. So I feel like you'll be seeing Ramsey, on Mike Evans. But, then you have Darius Williams on, I'm assuming, Godwin, and maybe Troy Hill on AB. But I think there might be a lot of rotation going on with that. And, Darius Williams, if you look back, I've seen some clips on Instagram, probably just Rams Instagram people, but it's basically showing all of his interceptions this year. He had an interception against Philly, one against the Giants, and those two against Seattle. And all of them were really awesome interceptions, like just amazing. And he has, even dating back to last year, he had, I think, 2 or 3 interceptions in the last couple of games when he started at the end of last year. So he has like 7 interceptions in, like his last 10 games or something like that. So he's legit, and he's just one of those guys who was always good. He went to a small school in college, UAB, and just kind of fell under the radar, was cut by the Ravens practice squad, and the Rams gobbled him up. And he's just been Sean McVay even said that when he was on like the practice squad for the Rams, he had to tell him like, hey, like, can you tone it down? You're shutting down our starters. So this is just his coming out party. He's like for real. And so that him versus Godwin's going to be great, because when I watched the highlights last year of the Bucs Rams game, Godwin shredded us, absolutely shredded us. I want to say Talib was already out in that game. I can't remember, but Peters was in. He got burned by Mike Evans. And I'm just trying to think who was our cornerback going against Godwin, because he had like 160 yards.
Is it Nickel Roby-Coleman? Maybe?
Yeah, he was there. He's more of our slot guy, so maybe he was up against Godwin if Godwin was in the slot.
Yeah, fun fact, actually, I was at a one-on-one camp. I played wide receiver in high school, and Troy Hill was at this camp, and he was locking me up, man. He was locking me and my friends up. Troy Hill was getting the best of it. I think I was only a sophomore or a junior in high school, and he might have been even like a freshman in college or something. I think he went to Oregon, but I was getting locked up by Troy Hill. He was pressing me. I couldn't get off of him, man. It was fun though.
That's funny. Here's a fun fact about Troy Hill. When, who was it? When someone came to the Rams and had a number, I can't remember who it was, and Troy Hill had that number. They paid Weddle, and so they paid Weddle, or Weddle paid Troy Hill $20,000 to have the number. And so Troy Hill changed it to 20. And then Jalen Ramsey gets traded to the Rams, and Jalen Ramsey's like, hey, can I have 20? And so he paid Troy Hill like $20,000 for the number. So he basically made $40,000 for just switching his jersey number 2 times.
I would do it if I was Troy Hill. I'd do the same thing, man.
Hell yeah.
I'll trade my number so you superstars can have your precious numbers.
Yeah, I mean, like, talk about the easiest way to make money, huh?
Yeah. But again, I think one of the biggest keys for the Rams and one of the biggest keys for the Bucs is you just got to keep the pressure off. I think it's been throughout Tom Brady's career. That's one of the biggest things in beating Tom Brady is getting pressure on him, getting in his face, make him uncomfortable. And that's what the Saints have done in both their games this year. That's what the Bears did on Thursday night earlier in the year. So I think the Rams are 16th in the league in pressure percentage, but they're tied for 3rd with 31 sacks. So they're going to get the pressure on him. It's going to be huge blocking Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Michael Brockers, all these guys. So got to keep them off Tom Brady. Yeah,
and I think that's huge, because when I checked, I kind of assumed Marpet was going to play, but if he hasn't even practiced yet, I mean, granted you have an extra day because it's Monday, But I kind of felt like if Marpet was in there, then, then I think you guys could just do a solid double team, maybe one with a chip on, Marpet with a chip. But, Donald, if he lines up on the other side, Marpet has nothing to do with it. What about Tristan Wirfs? How's he been this year? Because that'll be against Leonard Floyd.
For the most part, man, he's had a phenomenal year. I think he's been the best rookie offensive lineman in this draft class. He's been outplaying the Bucs left tackle Donovan Smith hands down, and has just really come into his own and been a fantastic first round pick for us. It looks like we're going to have a great lineman for years to come. I mean, he's obviously had a couple issues. Khalil Mack beat him a couple times pretty good, and then he had a couple problems against the Saints. But for the most part, man, he's been really good. I'm more confident in Tristan Wirfs on Monday than probably any other lineman on the line. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, speaking of Tom Brady, I mean, we all know Tom Brady, but I'm just wondering how he fits with this offense and kind of like what I've heard that, obviously when things haven't gotten right for the Bucs, it's because they're not running the ball. And I feel like that's same with the Rams. Every team is, when they lose, it's because they really didn't run the ball. But also, how is Brady, I guess managing the game? Is he taking lots of shots downfield out of the receivers, kind of and tight ends? Because you have Brate and Gronk as well. What's that flow like between all of the weapons he has?
Yeah, it's definitely been a change up from a guy like Jameis Winston for the past 5 years, who literally just takes any and every shot and will just launch it down the field, even in triple coverage. Tom will not force balls, almost never. He throws to the open man. So a lot of times he is just checking down to the running backs, or I think if he's going to force it to anybody, I think it's Gronk. I know a lot of Bucs fans have been kind of frustrated this year that Mike Evans hasn't gotten as many targets as you would probably like. Last week, Tom definitely tried getting him the ball. It took a little while to get the flow of the offense going, whether it be lack of creativity from the OC Byron Leftwich, or just, getting that chemistry together. It took a little while, and I think they're still working on it. Like, against the lesser defenses like Carolina, they've shredded them. They shredded Carolina. They shredded the Raiders defense. It just, again, I think it all comes down to if you can get pressure in his face and you can stop that run game. Ronald Jones had 192 yards last week. If you're running it, you're just giving Tom that much more pressure off his back to find some open receivers. So it's still a work in progress, I think, even 11 weeks into the season. But it's getting better and better, I think, each week. Besides the Saints game, which was just a disgrace. An absolute disgraceful performance on both sides of the ball.
Now, I want to talk about the Saints games, not like specifically that, but in just a sec, because I want to wrap up on – so you have Rojo and you've got Fournette. And I feel like Rojo coming into the season was a guy that was – because, I followed him when he was at USC. And then he went and he just did – like his rookie year didn't really do anything. And it kind of, I think was forgotten about in a way, kind of like he was overhyped or they just weren't using him right or whatever. But, he's done well this year. You've got Fournette. Fournette had a game earlier in the season. So, like, how obviously Rojo's the number one back, but how do they mix that? What's the deal going with the running game?
Yeah, so with Rojo, like his rookie year, you could tell he was not ready. Like, he was just so raw and so young, and he was playing so slow. He almost looked scared every time he touched the ball. And then year 2, last year, he really started to come into his own, and he's looked great this year. Peter Blake over at Bucs Report, who runs the sports web over there, who I talk to all the time, his saying is the victim of volume, that he just wasn't getting enough touches. And the thing about Ronald Jones is the guy has brick hands. I love you, Rojo, but he cannot catch. Don't expect him to catch the ball. And he's had problems, I think, here and there picking up blitzes and blocking and protecting the quarterback. But as far as running the ball, man, he hits the hole hard. He can make a lot of great moves. And he's really come into his own and really taken that lead role as the Bucs' number one back. And I definitely expect him to get the most touches on Monday. But as Bruce Arians said a while back when they first signed Leonard Fournette, you can't ever have enough good skill players in Bruce Arians' mind. And Leonard Fournette is a player. He had 100 yards in week 2 against the Panthers. He runs hard. He's still young. He's only in his, 4th season. So it's a solid 1-2 punch when Rojo needs to come out and take a rest, because Fournette's a bruiser for sure. And this team still, even with Tom Brady and all of the receivers, they still pride themselves on running the football. They want to run it successfully.
Yeah, and I even that game in Carolina, Rojo did fumble earlier in the game. So I mean, yeah, that was an interesting. I watched that game because I was trying to brush up on the Bucs, and I noticed that it was 20-17 Bucs. Carolina punts, pins you in on the 2. First play, Rojo breaks it, touchdown. Carolina gets the ball back, throws an interception. Tampa Bay goes down and scores a touchdown. Then Carolina gets the ball again, and then on 4th down fakes the punt, and it was like a botch. And Tampa Bay goes down and kicks a field goal. And just on those 3 drive, that's 17 points. Boom, boom, boom. And it just happened. So anyways, that's kind of what I was thinking with Rojo there and the fumble. But now going back to the Saints and the Bears, what was it in those games? What was the kryptonite that the Saints brought and the Bears brought? You mentioned pressure. Was that all? They got into Brady and just kind of rattled him, or what came out of those games of oh man, this isn't good.
I'll start with the Chicago. The Chicago game was just kind of, I'm not even going to lie, it was a bit of a fluke. The Bucs ended up kicking a lot of field goals. They couldn't get in the end zone when it counted. The refs, I hate to make excuses. The refs weren't great in that game for really either team. We were missing Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown hadn't come back yet, and it was still early in the year, and we still weren't really clicking on offense. And the Bears just got pressure on Tom Brady. That was a bit of a fluke. I think if the Bucs and Bears played a game again, the Bucs would win that game, walking away. As for both the Saints games, the Week 1 game, the Bucs were not ready. I mean, they had no preseason. They were not prepared. The Saints, these players have been together for years. They just clicked way more. They got the pressure on Tom. As for the game I look at the most, which is the most disheartening, was the game on Sunday night a couple weeks ago. And we just didn't really play our ball. On defense, the Bucs did the exact opposite of what they've done all year. They kind of sat back. I mean, they weren't actually in a prevent defense, but Sean Payton said it. It almost felt like they were running a prevent defense. They kind of just sat back, weren't getting any pressure on Drew, just the front 4, and he was just picking us apart over the middle of the field. We weren't hitting our gaps in the run defense. The linebackers were overcompensating, being a little too aggressive, and they were just every facet for us defensively just getting shredded. And then on offense, the offense completely lacked creativity, and it just fell apart so quickly. I mean, we went 3 and out. The Saints drove right down the field. Jamel Dean had that lapse in coverage. They get on top quickly, 7-0. We came out wanting to throw, shockingly enough, because usually we'll start running. But, again, 3 and out. Saints get the ball back. I think they had a fumble. They drive right down again, and then Brady had a pass deflected, get intercepted, and we only had 5 rushes the entire game. Wow. Couldn't establish the run. There was just miscommunication nonstop with the receivers. I think Tom and the receivers 3 times miscommunicated on deep routes where the receiver stopped. The whole thing was just a mess. They were just completely ill-prepared. The Saints got unbelievable pressure. Missing Ali Marpet really hurt in that game. That was the first game he missed. And we started Joe Haig at left guard and Ryan Jensen stayed at center. The whole thing was just a nightmare. Lack of creativity on offense, not playing our game on defense, just destroyed. And the Saints have had our number for years, man. Donovan Smith suddenly turns into the worst left tackle in the NFL whenever the Saints come to play. And Cameron Jordan and Trey Hendrickson and all those guys are just all over our quarterback.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure McVay and Staley are watching a lot of tape of those Saints games, the Bears game, to just kind of see, I feel like what you said about the Bears is probably right, kind of a fluke game, because I feel like they were overrated. they kind of got lucky in a couple games that they won earlier in the season, inflating their record. Their offense isn't that great. Their defense is really good, but it can only do so much. So, I mean, that was kind of a weird blip. So, I'm just interested on it to hear about that. And, when it comes to pressure, the same thing, like Goff and Brady are the same dude. Like, Goff, the thing with Brady and the difference between the two, I mean, one of the many, but what you'll notice is that Brady, even when he's pressured, his footwork is great. And, his mechanics are so sound. Goff gets the happy feet. When he's in there and the pressure's coming in, he's tapping those feet and, he's the balls, he's not firing correctly. So, our right tackle, Havenstein, he's actually been very good this year. He's like a top 15 tackle, and he's gone up against Chase Young, Eric Armstead. He kind of really is the guy who gets a lot of the star pass rushers for the other team. So I think he's going to get Shaq Barrett this week. So that this is the getting pressure, picking up the blitz. Miami went nuts blitzing us, and that's really, that's really what killed us in that game. And ever since then, the Rams have been practicing on picking up the blitz and diagnosing the pressure and having counters for it. So I think even though your rush defense is a top defense, or number one against the run, I really feel like the Rams are going to just go for it and try and establish the run, get the ball out of Goff's hands. I really feel, and this is, you can say this is very generic in a way, but this game is all about turnovers. And if the Rams don't turn the ball over or the Bucs don't take the ball away, I feel like that's really where the Rams are going to, if they win, that's going to be the secret sauce. Because if Goff turns the ball over 4 times, if Brady turns the ball over 3 times, whatever, that's really it in a game that can be decided by very close margin. So, yeah, it's really the turnovers, and you guys are, I think, +5 or 0. We're like neutral. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing. And our running backs, a 3-headed monster is really good. Also, you help our left tackle by running the ball and not having him pass block so much. So I really feel like the Rams are going to, even though your run defense is good, I think they're going to come out and try and really establish the run, have maybe 2 tight ends in there, and just really kind of get that going, draw your defense in, and then spread it out with the passing. So I feel like that's what the Rams' secrets of success is, because what the Rams also do, lots of motion, lots of rolling the pocket out. And your linebackers are fast and athletic and can move horizontally. And I think that can maybe neutralize a little bit of the motion or kind of getting to our players in space, at the line of scrimmage. So, the more I look at this game, I'm just like, this is such a, just on both sides. There's just no lack of skill or talent or scheme or smarts, IQ, coaching. It's all just top notch.
This should be a great game, man. The Bucs have played really poorly in primetime this year. They changed up their practice schedule this week. They actually practiced at Raymond James in a night practice last night. They're trying to change it up and be better prepared for this primetime game. So I'm just hoping we don't lay an egg on primetime yet again. We had the loss against the Saints, lost to the Bears, and almost lost to the Giants on our Monday night game. So I'm so excited for this game. I cannot wait. It's going to be a great game.
Okay, one other thing. What can you tell Rams fans about Matt Gay? Because Matt Gay, the Rams just signed Matt Gay. And when I watched that game last year against the Rams, he had a 58-yard field goal. And I was like, what? And then that game, Greg Zuerlein hit a 58-yard field goal and a 44-yarder. So it was just it was traumatic for me to see this because our kicking, we let him go, and our kicking's been terrible. So now we picked up Matt Gay. Why is Matt Gay available?
He's got a huge leg, first of all. That guy can kick some deep kicks. Like you said, he had that 58-yarder against the Rams. It just comes down to consistency, man. He just was too inconsistent, was missing extra points here and there, which should be automatics in the NFL, even at 33 yards. Was missing – he missed a game winner against the Giants in week 3 last year before we played the Rams. It just all comes down to consistency in the NFL. And on the other side, the Bucs, we signed Ryan Suckup, knock on wood, but he's been absolutely phenomenal this year. I think he's missed one kick all year. He did have an extra point block last week, but he's been phenomenal. And I think that's the thing with kicking. It comes down to consistency. But he does have a big leg. The man can just get that accuracy down and be more consistent. You may have found yourself a kicker. The Bucs took him in the 5th round just last year. So
wow,
he's just got to be more consistent.
Well, who does your kickoffs? Is it your punter?
Yeah, the punter, Bradley Pinion, does the kickoffs, and he's, I think, towards the top in the NFL as far as touchbacks. The Panthers actually had a 90-yard kickoff return last week or something. It's not very often that Bradley Pinion, that teams even have the opportunity to return kicks on the Bucs. But
see, that's interesting. That's been what. So the Rams, they let Zerline go. And then they drafted a guy in the 7th round, and then they brought in 2 guys in camp. And one of the guys that they brought in camp, everyone thought he was the favorite, but then they ended up letting him and the other guy go and going with the rookie. And the reason why they kept the rookie, Sam Sloman, is because he has a big leg, and he can at least kick the ball out of the end zone. And you come to the regular season, and he can't kick the ball out of the end zone. And he was getting he probably had, I don't know, 4 or 5 kicks blocked. So his trajectory was like really low, and he missed field goal. Like his first field goal of the season was the first game against Dallas, and it pinged off of the upright. And since no one was in the stadium, you could like hear it, like just, and you're just like, oh my God. And so that was a disaster. We get rid of him. We bring in Kai Forbath, who then shanks an extra point and injures his ankle and goes on IR. So then we bring in one of the guys that we had originally, who was a kicker in the XFL, McGinnis. And so he's familiar with the team, and he's been on the team now for like 2 weeks. And then we just signed Matt Gay, who I think today, Saturday, he'll be cleared of all the COVID stuff. So he'll be in the building, like he'll be with the team. So we're going to have like one day today, and I don't know how much tomorrow, if anything tomorrow, of like a little mini competition between Matt Gay and McGinnis. And one of those guys will be kicking on Monday night. So basically, we don't know who's kicking on Monday night. Our kicking is atrocious. We can't kick. There's no touchbacks happening. We can't make extra points. Like the Seattle game should have been 24-16, not 23. Every game the Rams have, there should be at least one extra point in all of these games because they're all getting missed. And so that, like, don't be like, if Matt Gay is the kicker, like, what if this game comes down to a 50-yard Matt Gay game-winning field goal?
Bucs fans would be like, that's our luck. That's our luck. You know, that's been one of the most underrated parts of the positives of this Bucs season is the kicking from Ryan Succop's been so on point. You know, for the longest time, Bucs fans were saying it's the Matt Bryant curse. We let go of Matt Bryant after the 2008 season, and we were just constantly looking for a kicker, from Mike Nugent to Connor Barth to Kyle Brinsda to Pat Murray. Then we brought Barth back. Then we draft Roberto Aguayo. And
Aguayo.
Yeah. Obviously, Aguayo was a disaster. Nick Foles was a disaster. I didn't mention Ryan Lindell in there earlier in the 2010s. I mean, we've had so many kickers, so it's so refreshing to see Ryan Succop doing so well for us.
Yeah. No, I can't. I know what it's like to have a good kicker. And then Sean McVay even said it out loud. He said, sometimes you don't know what you had until it's gone.
Greg the leg.
Yeah, Greg the leg. And it's so funny because Rams fans are always like, oh, we got to re-sign Greg the leg in the offseason. We got to. And then they let him go, or he goes to the Cowboys with the special teams coach, John Fossil. And the whole narrative comes out like, well, you know, when you think about it last year, he wasn't good between 40 and 50 yards. And everyone's like, yeah, that's right. And so, like, even myself, I was starting like, yeah, you know, he was declining and this and that. But the thing is, like, you never really felt that last year. Never really felt he was missing so many kicks. And then here we are. So anyways, that's like more than we should ever talk about kickers, but it's just crazy how, like, that's what the Rams season is. Despite the fact that they have not had a kicker really at all this year, they're still 6-3. So if they ever find that guy to just be serviceable, then I don't know if anything else would change. I mean, we lost to Buffalo by 3 points, and we had a missed field goal in that game. So anyway, it
That was
did.
a crazy game.
Pardon?
That was a crazy game. That Rams-Bills game.
Oh yeah,
A crazy comeback.
that was. You know what? I think most Rams fans would say that the Rams in the second half of the game that's the best the Rams have played all season.
Really, that's awesome.
Even like with the Seattle game, I think everyone's pretty high off of that Seattle game, but just the way the offense performed. This is a crazy year for Rams. The Rams defense is better than the Rams offense. The Rams offense really hasn't gotten into a full groove. And it's mainly, I think, because they don't convert points, but they get lots of yards, but they're not finishing. And I think that's kind of skewing how people view the Rams offense. So it's a very strange year.
On Bucs Rams related, I just had a quick question for you moving forward. What do you think as far as taking the division? Do you think they can take down Seattle and Arizona and maybe win the West?
I do. I do because they still have 2 games against Arizona and a game against Seattle and San Fran. They play San Fran after Tampa Bay. And I think they can beat San Francisco in that game. Obviously, there's like no one left playing for the Niners. So I think they'll take that. I think they can split. And I honestly think they can beat Arizona twice. But I'm just being humble and saying, okay, they split. But at the same time, Seattle has the easiest schedule the rest of the way.
As you said, I mean, they've got Washington, I think the Giants, Philly. They've had the Niners again. They've got a super easy schedule ahead.
They do. So, that's going to be, I mean, but the Rams play in their second to last game of the season. They play at Seattle. And Seattle should be, I think, more full strength. They've been missing a lot of guys. So they'll have a home game with almost their full roster if no one else gets injured. And then the last game of the year is at SoFi against Arizona. I think the Rams have a shot at winning the division, but I think that it might be more like realistic that they're second, only because of Seattle's remaining schedule. So, outside of the NFC West, this game against Tampa Bay, this is just not just a game against 2 Goliaths. It's NFC seeding. These are 2 playoff teams jockeying for position. And how do you feel about Tampa Bay in the South, between Tampa Bay and the Saints?
Yeah, well, first of all, you never want a guy to get hurt. You never wish a guy to get hurt. But in all reality, I think this is the Bucs' chance right here. Is Drew Brees is down in New Orleans, and I don't think Atlanta's no slouch. They've been playing better lately. They've lost a ton of close games this year. And the Saints have them twice over the next 3 weeks while Breeze is out. They've still got the Chiefs on their schedule. It's an uphill battle for the Bucs being 0-2 against the Saints in the division. But I think there is a chance, if I'm being confident, that we can still win this division at, say, 12-4, and New Orleans finishes 11-5. Obviously, if we have the same record, no possibility there. The Saints win the tiebreaker. But I do still think, and this is why this game against the Rams is so crucial for the Bucs, because they've got a huge game against the Chiefs next week, and then a fairly easy schedule in the Final Four, all 4 games of which I think they should and could win. So this game against the Rams is massive in terms of, if we want to win this division, I think they really need to win this game on Monday night.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is crossroads. And when I looked at the schedule and I saw this game, I thought this was a 50-50 game. But the one thing I thought I had the Rams, or that was going in the Rams' favor, was the fact that the Bucs hadn't had a bye week yet. You haven't had a chance to catch your breath, recalibrate. It's a lot of vets on this team. So, I just wonder how tired the Bucs are. I mean, you're coming off a good win. The Rams had a bye week before Seattle, and then they get, a great win. So I feel like they have some rest and some momentum, although now they're missing a couple of guys because of injuries. But I kind of felt like that might swing it a little bit in the Rams' favor. But, At the same time, this is the Rams' fifth East Coast trip this year. So, but it's the last one of the season, thank God. I don't know what the Rams did to piss off the NFL schedule gods, but yeah, it's been pretty hairy. So who do you play after this game? You said, was it Chiefs?
Kansas City, yeah, and that's what's so concerning is you just mentioned it. They still haven't had their bye. We don't have our bye till week 13. We're coming on kind of a short week, seeing though we're playing on Monday, and the Chiefs just had their bye last week, so they're pretty fresh, and that's going to be an uphill battle against Kansas City, even though we're at home. And I'm not saying I'm as confident as anyone. I think, I've been saying all season, I think on their best day, the Bucs are, you could argue, they're the best team in the NFL. I think they could match up and beat anybody. Yeah. It's just how that, you're right, is the bye week, how rested are these guys? They've got some veteran older players, so that could be a factor for sure.
Yeah, and I just the more I think about it as well, is the matching up is Antonio Brown, because I know he's still getting into game shape. He's still getting into the system. That's Antonio Brown as your third guy. That's tough. This is an Antonio Brown 2 weeks ago. When he's just kind of getting into the flow. I just look at every matchup around, and I'm just like, this is Gronk and Brate. Those are two good. Yeah, a ton of firepower. So Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, really has his work cut out for him. This is going to be a good one. So, yeah, anything else you can think of?
No, I think we got a lot covered there in our video. So no, that was fun, man. What's your score prediction? Last thing.
Oh gosh, I haven't even really thought about it. I asked you yours just to see if you had one, and they're like, I'll think about it while we're talking. But I'll let you go first with yours and explain it, and then I'll think of mine real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 24-21 Bucs. I think this is gonna be a pretty defensive game. These are two of the best defenses in the NFL. It's all about pressure on these quarterbacks, like you said, creating turnovers, and I think it's gonna come down to, we were talking about kickers too. Maybe a kick, and I think Ryan Succop's been more consistent this year, and I'm going to give the Bucs a 3-point win at home, 24-21.
Okay. Now I'm thinking about it. I think it's going to be Rams 21, Bucs 17.
All right, I like it.
Yeah.
I like the prediction.
You know what, though? Honestly, if the Bucs won and it was a close game, I wouldn't be surprised at all. This is a game where I could finally jump out and say, the Rams, I think the Bucs are going to take this one actually. And I don't think anyone would really dispute that, even Rams fans. But it just, feels weird.
Yeah, that's why I say I like your prediction. I obviously don't like the fact that the Rams are going to beat the Bucs. It's more so just I think that's a fair prediction. It's, if we are to lose this game, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a tight game, and it wouldn't completely surprise me. This is a very good Rams football team that the Bucs cannot sleep on, and it wouldn't entirely surprise me if they lose this game 21-17.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Rams lost 24-21. So I just don't see the Rams making – I think 21 is a good number, because if there's a field goal involved, I just don't see the Rams kicking field goals. So, everything has to just be a factor of 7 or 6 even because of extra points. So that's going to be an interesting thing. But do you know what the weather's like in Tampa Bay? Is it just normal? I
actually haven't checked yet. I can check real quick.
Yeah, is it just regular Florida weather?
I think it's been normal in the 70s. I'm obviously real fast. It says Monday is going to be 82 and sunny.
All right.
Weather app. So it's looking like it's thunder and lightning tomorrow, though. So luckily the game's not tomorrow. But
luckily, a couple of years ago there was a lightning game there between the Rams and the
2016. I think they had a rain delay. Week 3 of 2016, they had a pretty long rain delay. Just right when the Rams had moved back, they were the new LA Rams. I think the Bucs actually played the last game at the Edwards Jones Dome in St. Louis. I'm pretty sure week 15 that year was the Rams' last game. It's played in St. Louis. So
it's a good memory. And in 2016, that win against the Bucs was one of our 4 wins. I think in 2016.
That started pretty hot that year, if I'm not mistaken. Was that Jeff Fisher's last year, 2016?
Yeah, that was
I
Goff's
think he
first
started
year.
1-1 and then completely collapsed. And the Bucs were the opposite. They started 1-3 and finished 9-7. So that game came down to the wire. Jameis Winston was
Yep.
pump faking, and he was pretending like he was gonna look for it, and then he tried running it in, and I think Robert Quinn or somebody caught him from behind. But that was
Robert
a
Quinn. Yeah,
crazy
good old
game.
days. Good old days. Well, cool, Liam. This was a lot of fun. And you have a YouTube channel called Bucs Archive, and also Instagram. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm at on Instagram. You can follow me at Buccaneers Archive, and then on YouTube you can reach me at Bucs Archive with Liam Mitchell. And then if you wanted to follow me on Twitter, I just made one recently. It's at LeeMitch27. So.
Get those fleets going.
Yeah, I'm still getting out there a little more.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you. Yeah, the fleet thing. I haven't fleeted yet, but yeah. And if this is on your channel, you can find me Rams Talk on everywhere: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. So LA Rams Talk or Rams Talk. But yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for making the time. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the interview there. Liam dropped a lot of good knowledge. Very interesting to see how this shakes out. Yeah, so if this is the first video you've seen about the Bucs matchup, go ahead and watch another one of my game preview, more or less, right there. You can also subscribe right over here if you've made it all the way to the end. I thank you very much, and as always, go Rams. I don't have a pen to flip it like that. Got it. There you go.